All right. Awesome. So excited. Today is it's quite an interesting day. So welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of Start and Suits with your host Dee, the Astro Goat, and Ty from Tide in the Cards. Every week we come at you with a new episode every Sunday, typically between 6 and 7. Today, given that it's a holiday here in the US, we have Easter Sunday for those of you Christians or those of you who have and observe this religious holiday. It's usually spent with family and stuff. So we wanted to do it a little bit later to give you all a chance to relax with the fam and then, get home and catch us live. So here we are. This week, we're going to keep it super short and sweet because we have a very interesting week ahead. And I want to give you all the info to plan for your investing and trading for this week. And as you can see, every time we come online, the markets are moving on these Sunday evenings. So let's get right with it. Ty, how was your week?
It was great, Dee. Yeah, thanks. Excited to be here again. Yeah, uh, once again this week. Yeah, last week wild news week, like for sure. It just like every day, I feel like there was like multiple stories going on, and kind of just caused, it's kind of a lot of just like chop and like sudden moves, but like kind of retracing, and like we really feel like we're gearing up for something here. And this week looks pretty crazy. So yeah, like you were saying, we're going to keep our segments short and sweet because we definitely want to get into the forecast for next week because yeah, it is looking pretty wild.
You showed me real quick before we got started, and I took like one quick peek and I just fell out of my chair and I was like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I want to have like my first taste of it when you present it because people don't realize that we don't really chat beforehand. So it's like literally like all our reactions, all our connections, everything we see is like right on the moment live. Like it's pretty awesome. It's my favorite part of the whole thing, like just to see the connections as they flow and then to match it to what happens in the markets after, it's even more satisfying.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's crazy when they overlap and they align, but not only that, but then it's just like crazy accuracy on top of it. So that makes it really fun. But yeah, I mean, I think if we're ready, I mean, we'll hop right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, sounds good. So yeah, if you guys don't have any background about what I do in the system I use, it's called cardology, and cardology uses the standard deck of playing cards. And on this birth chart here, you can actually find your birth card. If you find the day here and the month, you can find your birth card, and that's a lot like your sun sign in astrology. And so the deck of playing cards is directly tied to the calendar in many ways. Like there's 52 cards in the deck, 52 weeks in the year, four different suits, four seasons, 12 court cards, 12 months. It goes on and on. There's many layers to the calendar and the cards. But that being said, you can find your birth card here, and that makes it a lot more fun. And you find out, yeah, exactly what card you are and where you lay in this grid here. And this grid is it's called the life spread, and this is essentially the foundation of cardology. By locating your card here, we can then delineate your life spread, but also like who you are as a person, the different aspects of you as a person by reading this chart. Um, so yeah, what I wanted to get into today is like this chart, how we follow a set pattern day by day. This actually is going to set the cosmic energy like for the day as well. It's kind of like the sun energy of the day. So today is a three of spades day. And that's what I wanted to talk about here is because with Easter weekend, when we talk about Easter, um, first off, I want to just start off by saying that it's like I am not a theologian. I'm not like an expert in like Christianity or the Christian faith. But I do have a general understanding of like the resurrection story here. And it's pretty interesting how it lays right on top with the cards. And so even if, yeah, you don't celebrate this holiday or you don't observe it, I think you could find something pretty interesting here. So
I
we're
agree. I
gonna,
agree. Same here.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
double that.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Well, and I guess to start off here is like in from what I've seen is like all major religions are kind of tied by this thread of some sort of interpretation of astrology. And so
Yes.
it's, and so when we tie in the cards are also directly reflective of astrology as well. So of course they all tie in together. But
Yeah.
but I guess
Yeah.
going
I
back
mean,
to the, oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to add that, I grew up Christian, and as I grew older, I studied many other religions, participated in them as well, experienced them firsthand. And when I learned astrology, what's so incredible about how it all ties it together is that the archetypes of astrology, um, in such way that they connect to a lot of the archetypes in the religious stories as well as mythology. So you have almost like I don't want to say a carbon copy, but there are very important key elements of the characters and the stories that all align with mythology and astrology and the religious characters. So I find it fascinating that people don't seem like some religions may condemn the use of astrology or the study of mythology, while the same stories are being played through the eyes of that or the lens of that particular religion. When in reality, the lessons that they were trying to teach us, as you follow the religions, are all in the same stories, so to speak. So I have a very big respect for our religions, as I've been able to experience them myself. And as I've noticed that, a lot of times they do a lot of good for people. They meet people where they are, they give them support, they help people, withstand a lot of difficult times and get through a lot of, difficult moments in their lives. But they can also be very limiting in terms of their beliefs. So I hope that people take what we're sharing today as just a study of these methods rather than a belief system, right? And so with that kind of disclaimer, we can proceed.
Yeah, and that beautifully put, D. I mean, I think that's a great way of putting it. And similar path myself, to be transparent. It's like, yeah, I grew up, in I would say what you would say a Christian, I don't know, environment. I would say, but not like, not like go to church every Sunday type thing, but like in general, around this stuff. But it doesn't mean that like, yeah, it doesn't mean that one thing's right or one thing's wrong. It's like, yeah, and
Yeah.
in my experience, it's like all of these systems, whether you take like the esoteric systems or the traditional religious systems, it's like we're all kind of getting at the same thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, there can be like some sort of limits that can be imposed by the more traditional religions. But yeah, that being said, I guess yeah, to get into it, Friday was what's called Good Friday, and Good Friday is the day that Jesus was resurrected, or not resurrected, was crucified, put on the cross, and so it's like the day that he died. And what we have here is both of the death cards,
You can't
which
make
is
that stuff up.
yeah, which is like
You can't make it
really
up.
really crazy. And so you may wonder, be like, hey Ty, there was only one card here. Why do you have two cards? Um, what I'm pulling, the card that's underneath is what's called the planetary ruler, and I talked about that last week, and that's tied to astrology. And because the sun is in Aries right now, we're pulling the Mars card from each one of these specific cards. So that's going to be the card that's three spaces to the left of your card in the grid. And but not super important for right now with the grid, but these cards are linked together based on where the sun is in the sky.
I
So
love how you talk about how you pull the Mars card and how it's key for each one of those dates. And in astrology, the whole week is based on Mars baseline, what I like to call baseline, planetary baseline. It's the planet, the key planet running the show for the week.
Yeah, definitely running the show, especially being Aries season. We're yeah, Mars is definitely running the show here. And what you can see here is Mars is one of the planets that's ruling the five of spades. And so what does the five of spades like mean other than like death? And it's like it actually doesn't really mean death. The nine is like the death, the rebirth, that sort of transformation card. The five is still transformation because we're talking about the suit of spades, and the suit of spades can be heavy because it holds all three other suits inside of it, which also makes it the suit of like wisdom, career, health. It's like the foundational aspects of like who you are and how you move through the world. And so when we add the five here, we're talking about transformative exploration. So that's why sometimes it can be the death card, because you can transform yourself right over to the other side, is like how I kind of look at it. So you have both these cards together, but with this transforming five on top, that's very interesting when we look at the progression of like towards the resurrection. So Saturday is actually 4/4, and then it's a four card. So it's just four on four on four on four, which is wild. But the four of spades is like the card of rest and recovery. Because the four cards are all about like stability and foundation. The spade, because it is heavy and it turns that four inward, and it's all about what is that four about to us on like the foundational inner level. And so this is, yeah, rest, recovery, home, family. It's like it's more foundational than say like the four of hearts, which is like definitely a family card, but more at a emotional level. This is like a foundational level. Like, is my am I safe? Do I
Yeah,
have like water? You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
the that sort of foundation. So then when you play it into the to the Jesus story, it's like this is, he's resting this day. This is the day that he's in the tomb, but underneath he has the eight of spades, which is the power of health and the power of overcoming challenges. It's the eight of eights. And so the eight transforms through power. And so you have this rest with this underlying transforming power going on this day
yep,
that he's supposed to be in the tomb. And then on Sunday is Easter, the day that he rises. Well, the three, because again we're in spades, so it's all of the threes combined. This is the three of threes. Well, I think of this as the Trinity. This is essentially the Trinity, which is like in Christianity the Trinity, which has different symbolic references, but what I'm talking about here is like the conjunction of mind, body, and spirit, or mind, spirit, and the physical. And that conjunction then also makes the three a card of overcoming challenges. When all three pips are lined up in the right direction, that's not the natural state for the three. The natural state is scattered. But when all three pips are lined up, it's unstoppable. It's an unstoppable arrow. It's a bolt that is also transformative and full of contrast and resilience. And so you have this power of work, the rest, and then the transformative exploration outward, the expansive energy, which is also doubled then by this five of diamonds, which is again like this five, exploring through the five senses, exploring outward, but in the material realm. And you can
right.
see it's the first diamond that hits in this sequence, which is like, it's really amazing how it lines up right on top of the story. Um, yeah, I found it absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, there's no randomness whatsoever
No.
going on here. And when you look at Price and what Price has done in the past couple of days since Friday is absolutely in 100% alignment. So, on Friday, like you said, right, we have that death card sort of, and the whole like nine of swords, five of spades, representing, the death. It doesn't always necessarily means like a drop or a crazy move to the downside or anything like that. It just means the end of something,
Right.
typically a cycle. And we talked about this last week. If you go back to our previous chats on Sunday, our last stream, where we talked about the death of a cycle, the end of a move, and the beginning of a new, right? And that this weekend was going to be transformative. So you can see how on Friday, right, we put in my system, right? On Thursday, we put in that low at 65. And I think I had replied to a couple of people who had asked in my comments, like what exactly was I looking for? And I was looking for that 65, that low, right? And then a kind of like a bounce back to 67, then potentially back to 65, and then remaining there for the weekend. And so it was kind of like that end of that cycle, and then the transformation, the rest, right, that we saw on Saturday, kind of just that chop sideways. And then we were talking about that rise, right, on the Sunday and potentially into Monday. And then the retrace, right, but we won't talk about that until we get into the weekly cards. But it was really interesting to see then how we literally had that rise. And then the 5 and the 3 for that day, right, adding to that 8 of fortune and positive energy. So I think it's like you can't really make this stuff up. It just aligns so beautifully with the astrology, plus that also on today being the Saturn Jupiter day, which typically brings in a lot of volatility. Because if you go back to mythology, again, aligning methodology over methodology. And in mythology, right, the fight between Zeus and well, I guess to represent the Jupiter and Saturn, right? And we follow that cycle closely in astrology for predictions in price and forecast, etc. And so whenever I see a Saturn Jupiter day, like you have there, and then adding to such a positive number, and right before a sort of rest day, like you just said, I just know something is incoming. So it
Yeah.
was kind of crazy to see that all play out today.
Yeah, you had that that rest and recovery. And the other Saturn Jupiter card is the 8 of spades. So
Yeah,
that's also very interesting too, to have that underlying, because each planetary combination has 2 spots on the grid,
yeah.
unless you're a double of that card. So it's like there's the one double. But yeah, beautifully aligned, beautifully aligned.
Beautiful. So if you want, we can swing right into the astrology for the week, since we're kind of keeping it short today.
Yeah, we'll swing
Unless
right into it.
unless you have anything else you want to add.
No, that's it. That's about all I had for Easter. I just thought that was an awesome like alignment, how it lined up right on top of the story, and yeah, how other people find that interesting as well. But yeah, this week is definitely the height of the show here.
Yeah, we have a lot of things happening in the sky per usual. We're only going to focus on a few of them. In terms of transits that are currently happening in the sky. We have a few that I'm keeping my eye on. While Bitcoin itself in its natal chart is having a little bit more of an active a time. So we're gonna start with just kind of looking at just the regular general transits that we can see for today. Give me a second. I have to pull up my just my quick AstroSeek because I just lost my
You're,
page here.
You're good. You're good. All I'm saying is we got quite the party that's about to happen here in Aries.
The party in the sky.
Oh yeah.
I only see like that what do they call it? Elmo, the Elmo meme with the
Oh
fire and the
yeah.
arms raised, you know.
Yep.
Like
That's
let
it.
it like let it all burn.
Yeah, that's about where we're headed.
Oh
Crazy.
God. Okay. So we just had that full moon in Libra, the flower moon, I believe it was. And it's one of my favorites. You have the beauty of all the blooms happening around the world around this time. It's the first new moon, I believe, after we just had a lot of these major planets coming in and transitioning now into Aries. And so it's a very special moon. And, on the 9th, we're going to have Mars entering Aries, which, as the slide there shows, right? So it's a very special event. Every year, of course, but particularly this time because it's right in alignment with Mercury's shadow ending, right? So it's like the warrior returns to its castle. Is how I like to see it, right? Victorious, and it's all its armor and glamour. um, Mars entering Aries to me is one of the most potent transits. It's representative of the god of war in its own domain, coming in and with full strength, right? And this week, it begins while Venus is navigating, with Neptune. That doesn't give it a lot of clarity, right? But with Mars there, it's almost like the camp is secure, right? So Venus can be vulnerable and can be not necessarily as strong as she needs to be, but that Mars energy is there, right? That energy of protection. And so we should see more stability. We should see more strength and determination coming to not just the markets, but everyone in general. Like people are going to feel a lot more secure in their decision making, in their actions, which is why you're going to see also a lot of activity, between things that might have paused last week with Venus in Chiron having that transit that we talked about. Now with, you know, Mars back in its own sign, kind of like generating all that energy, we're going to see a lot of things move forward, whether unfortunately some of them not so positive, with the war and the tweets, and the communication and the threats that is still going to be kicking forward. And also on the 13th, this is a little bit further down the line, but we have Mars conjuncting Neptune. And that is not always the most favorable, as Mars likes to move forward, but when you don't have clarity, when there's still a lot of deception or illusion going on, then you kind of put that foot forward, but you could be, falling into a ditch. So it kind of reminds me, that meme of the guy like at the edge of a pond, no, at the edge of a puddle, and he thinks that that puddle is super shallow, so he like
Yeah,
walks over the puddle and ends up like 6 feet down, in the water. That's kind of like Mars and Neptune hanging together. Like you go and make these forward moves and you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. So, next week is gonna be kind of kind of
I
like a
love
moment
that
like
analogy.
yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I love about astrology is like whenever you learn like, the characterizations of each planet signs, elements and how they play together, etc. All these like images come to mind, which is kind of interesting and fascinating. But yeah, so So those are like some of the major transits, just kind of watching. And, someone just asked me recently about in my DMs, I'm sorry, in my comments, like what's the style, what kinds of things I use for interpretation of the markets. And I mean, I use a plethora of things. I always start with the most simple things, which I share with everyone here. It's the most basic things you can share so that I don't lose people and they don't feel like I'm talking down to them with too much astro jargon, right? And I like to give them those kind of comical interpretations and how they can use those for themselves. But there are much bigger things at play. We have bigger cycles happening, from planetary synodic cycles to combination of cycles like Sun and Venus cycles, Sun and Mercury cycles, Jupiter and Saturn cycles. Those are really key cycles that I follow for major macro pivots and things of that nature. But when we kind of keep it light and chill in these lives, I don't get into the big things. But those are just some of the key things that I watch for this week and next week. And that April 13th, guy falling into the puddle. It's like a really big analogy for between the 15th and the 17th, because even though this transit is happening on the 15th, we have Mercury entering Aries, which is not always a favorable transit as well. So between the 13th and the 15th, you got to watch for a lot of illusion and things that are going to be happening that people are going to say, yeah, let's, up only. And they're going to be quite confused when up only ends abruptly.
That's very funny because that also ends up landing on it will be a three of clubs week, which is known as which when there's a positive, negative, and a balanced expression of each card, the negative expression of the three of clubs is confusion, which is very
Uh,
funny. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Well, it all plays out, it all aligns per usual,
it
right?
really does.
So
Yeah, it really does.
yeah,
Um,
so but if you want to move to the next slide,
sure.
yeah, then we can talk a little bit more. These are the transits that I'm looking at for this week. Specifically, like I said, right, that these are for BTC now, right? So the April 5th, that Sun square Jupiter. So we just kind of saw that, which was a fake out before this pump. And so we should be seeing that play out later on today. So you can see that it's at 6:24. Um, so that it's going to be kicking in, in full effect. And just expect for that retrace to start. I think I shared on my feed a graph from my research program that I use for researching my transits and making my forecasts. And you can see that that pump was already coming in for today, but it's not a long lasting one. And in part is due to that sun squaring Jupiter. Then we have that Venus conjuncting Neptune. And so again, that's going to give us a um, kind of like a bit of confusion coming into tomorrow. Yeah, people are probably going to think that we're going to continue, and we are, but not without a retest. So something I always tell people, and they know me as like the queen of no FOMO. I always, as soon as we have these pumps, I give warnings before they happen. I hope that people take advantage of them, but I also give them warnings on when they're going to retrace. I also let them know not to chase and not to FOMO. A lot of people, one of the reasons why they come to my feed is because they understand that with astrology, when you can see the future like this in this way, you are a lot more calm. I'm sure you can relate to this, Ty, and I would love for you to share how the cards help you, not just in the markets, but like personally, like when you do readings for people and whatnot, how
Yeah.
it helps them to like not FOMO, not chase and wait for the next opportunity, which is coming after the 6th. So,
Yeah, it's definitely coming up. And yeah, I use it myself in the markets just so every asset, is going to have a birth card as well. And so I can look up you can look up a yearly chart for each asset, but then you can go down to 91-day seasonal charts, 28-day lunar charts, or you can even do weekly charts, which give you a daily card for each asset. So like if you guys might have seen, like in my feed, I posted like it was whatever day that was, I think maybe Thursday, that Bitcoin had the 3 of Hearts as its daily card. So that's different than the daily energy that we were going over on the last slide, because this is specific to this particular card. And so
mm,
I use the daily energy, but then
mm-hmm,
I also just use like the cosmic energy, and also the yearly card is like that's what sets the tone for everything. And the yearly card, as we talked about, is the Jack of Spades, and he is the master deceiver, the master of the head fake. He's the time traveler. So it's like you were saying, don't chase, especially this year. Do not chase, because you will get eaten alive by the Jack of Spades, because that's what he's waiting for. He's just waiting
yeah,
to trick people.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
And it goes
So
both ways too. That's going to go for shorts too. It's going
yeah, a
to,
hundred
yeah.
percent, 100%. And and we've been in a range for months now, so there's no reason to chase. Although we've been talking about this energy now shifting from March 25th forward. I think we hit it hard last Sunday on the 29th, and the week before the 27th, we talked about that week and how things are gonna start shifting. I mean, April is still a defensive month in general across the board. And you know, uh and so it's important to know that, like, that this this month is where the energy shift happens, but you still need to, like, be defensive, unfortunately, this month. But other than that, it's gonna be looking way better, I'm hoping.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely way better. Should we get into the week?
Say that again.
Oh, do you want to get into the week with the cards?
Oh yeah, yeah, my bad. Go right
Yeah.
into it, and then I'll just overlay the Astra on it.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. So, well, yeah, like we were saying, hopefully we're looking at a pivot here. And as you can see, we're switching suits on Tuesday. So this kind of Tuesday, Wednesday area is what we're looking at. But we'll start at the beginning here. So our weekly energy, last week we had the Ace of Clubs, which is the pioneer of the new ideas, and like we're turning a new page, and basically it's an ace. So it's a trailblazer. He's setting the tone for this new cycle. And so then this week we move into the Two of Clubs. So the Two of Clubs is the card of communication, but it can also be the card of arguing, as we've kind of seen with what's going on the world stage here between Trump and Iran and NATO and everyone else who's throwing their hat in the ring right now. But everyone basically has something to say right now, and you can see that that's just going to pick up into next week. Lots of communication, going to be news driven for sure, because communication's the tone of the week. And then also, yeah, a lot of conflict in communication as well, because when we're talking about everyone on earth, we're not just going to express only the positive expression. We're going to express the positive, negative, and balanced. So a little bit of everything this week, but definitely headlines are going to rule the show.
Yeah.
um yeah, so then Monday we got the Two of Spades. So the Two of Spades is known as the Aquarius card, because this is the card of cooperation. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, there can also be the flip side. So this is the card of no cooperation as well. Um, but in general, it's usually a very like spiritual card, but it can also be very illusory, like you were saying, like that Mars and Neptune stepping into a puddle type thing. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what's going on with the Two of Spades. What I like to, when I look at the Two of Spades, what it reminds me of is that Ace of Spades being the portal. This is the transformative portal into the abyss, so to speak. And the two is like, what if you put those portals facing each other? It would either make like extreme like confusion, distortion, break the space-time continuum. I'm not really sure what it would do, but it would either break something or it would make like the most like beautiful torus infinity like loop ever. Is like that's how I kind of think about it. It's like it's either complete chaos or it's like the most perfect cohesion. Those are like the
Wow,
two options.
that's a beautiful way to explain that. 100%. I'm with it.
Awesome. So yeah, then Tuesday we have that the portal of transformation. So here when we change suits in the cards, it's usually kind of like it's like a 2 day sort of process. You know what I mean? Because we have the ace, which is the new beginning, but then we switch suits and we drop right into the king of the next suit, which is going to be, we have this fuel for transformation and then we have the execution of the transformation with the next suit. So the king of
Wow.
diamonds is the master of finance and money,
Yeah.
and he also falls on a 22 day. And I'll let you jump in.
Yeah. Yeah, 22 equaling the 4, equaling the bottom, equaling foundations. Yep, you can't make that stuff up. And then like you said, so the Monday and Tuesday, right? So we have, like I said, that Venus Neptune, right? Conjunction at 3 degrees of Aries. So now we have Venus in Aries, which is not her best placement. Creating deceptive atmosphere for different values, things of value, like investments and assets, etc. So it's going to be quite an interesting one. This so I was telling people in my trading area that even though I know we're still expecting some retraces on the 6th, 7th, potentially all the way into the 8th, they could still be higher lows because of that pump we're seeing on the 5th, and the bottoming on the 4th. So, but tomorrow is just going to be a day of confusion. Some people are waking up now on the other side of the world. They're going to be looking at the charts and just being like, okay, what just happened, right? Like, it's not a huge pump, but it's enough to start to get us above that set around that 70K area again, which is the area that we want to hold for potential flipping to the upside again. So, when that happens, people start paying attention again. That's the area where a lot of people want to see break out and retest. So, between the 6th and the 7th, that's what people should be looking for. But, like again, like I said, with Venus in a placement that's not the best, and conjuncting Neptune at the start at that of the decans, the degrees of Aries, it's just the start of the new, right? It's not fully matured yet. So this move is just starting, so there's no reason to chase it. We're still gonna see retraces, which is why I put in my post a move that we've been following now since March 18th, where we could potentially have gone from that at that time I think it was like 70 something into back into the 60s, mid 60s and low 60s. Even though a lot of people are looking at way below that, I'm not seeing that until potentially later in the month, after mid-month. But for now, we are still in holding that 65K range. So if we stay above that 65K range, I gave the invalidation. So I still see us like potentially moving above 65K and higher, even through this retest. And then if we do break um the floor, 65K floor that we're holding now between Monday and Tuesday, that's when we can then see, the 63, 64, 62s again by that Wednesday. So it's just something to keep in mind for those 3 days. It's going to be, a test of the structure. And so then we have Venus and Saturn on the 8th, right? Conjuncting now 2 degrees later at 5 degrees of Aries. And so it's again, that Venus, Saturn, it's like the constructive constrictive energy of Saturn that sort of putting the lid on the pot again. After a deceptive Venus on the 6th. So it's not a time to chase until at the very least, like I said in my in my post, right? From the 8th onward, it's where you might want to see a much better move for the upside. And you can see there for the cards, like you said, that transit, I'm sorry, that card suit change from the spades into the diamonds, and then with that king of diamonds, the king of abundance. So
Right.
it's a beautiful day for a flip of energy for sure.
Definitely. And that King Day too, it's like we have 22, which is known as like the master builder. So it's like we also have this interesting lineup of Trump's been saying that his like deadline or whatever is Tuesday. And
Mhm.
that's very interesting as well because we land on that Ace of Spades day where it's like, regardless of what happens on that day, it's going to be very transformative and it's going to set the tone of what's going forward. But thankfully, it's like we have that king and that king with the 22 here with that master builder energy. The king will set the foundation and he is staring directly at that diamond because that is all that this king cares about he is about values and he's about resources and he's about money and he holds that axe because he's not afraid to use it. He can be brutal and we've talked about him before how sometimes the king can cause quick dips because it's like the king's not going to buy midway into the rally, like the king's going to buy the bottom, you know.
Right.
So it's like so with this transformative energy, it's like I'd be looking on that Wednesday, any sort of quick dip on Wednesday. It's like I would just remember we're playing the king that day. And so
Yeah.
it's yeah, that'll be pivotal.
Yeah. It's a definitely a key day to look for buying opportunities for sure. And that's gonna be coming down from already previous highs into discount again. So it's a good time to to look for what else is to come, right? So again, chasing, not what I will be doing at this time. We still have a lot more play ahead. And when you talk about the 9th, that queen, I'll talk more about, what I can see on that day as well. I mean, you know, um, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's coming. The change is coming and we're starting
Yeah.
to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing it. The Queen of Diamonds, she's the queen of values. So she's a lot like the king. She's like just as powerful. All these court cards are very, very powerful when it comes to their expression, but it's just a little bit different in how they express themselves. So the king is through authority and power, and the queen is through receptiveness and like kind of leads through like example in a way. But it's like a more motherly love that's yeah, receptive, more like moon energy in a way.
Mhm.
Super intuitive but sometimes the queen, that can be more of a down day because it is receptive, but with such a strong pivot going on and moving straight through the diamond suit, I could see, Thursdays typically we can see dips as well, but it's like I would just remember that it's like we have a lot of strength here, especially moving in to Friday because the Friday is the Jack of Diamonds, and the Jack of Diamonds, like I've said before, is the Jack in the box. He's the white knight that's just like he is the first guy to blaze onto the battlefield. You know what I mean? He's very he can be erratic and he can kind of be like a trickster in a way like the other jacks and like unpredictable, but usually a pleasant surprise is what comes from a Jack of Diamonds. And also very interestingly, this is the USA's birth card as well. And so we have an interesting conjunction there with the USA's birth card on Friday, which is typically known for, yeah, I don't know, that's looking really good for like for a positive move.
Yeah, 100%. And then so like I said, from the six of not chasing, right? Because if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Um, and then from the sort of survival perspective of where do we go from here on the 8th, where it's time to start to look at the accumulation. Then we go on that April 9th, and we have that Mars and Jupiter sextile as Mars has entered Aries. And to me, that's the what I like to call the ignition sequence, because you have Mars already in Aries, and sextiles to me are buying opportunities in an uptrend. So we're gonna already be setting kind of like the uptrend, uh, this week. And so that's like kind of like your last chance, so to speak, to catch some opportunities there. And then let's see. So to me, that's a very important pivot point. The 8th, you start to see the energy already moving in, forming that bottom, but the 9th still gives you a much more potential opportunity. So that's like, when to watch. And then we also have, like I said before, right? Mercury's shadow, Mercury retrograde shadow ending. So it's kind of like giving the green flag for momentum to, activate. And then the 10th, believe it or not, we still have uh some more buying opportunities. So all of this week is going to be bottom forming potential opportunities for continuation of trend into later in the week, and uh, into early next week, as well as we have a trine between, I think is Mercury trining, I want to say the sun, but I don't have, let me see, do I have my notes on that? Yep,
It's
it's
so
Mercury
funny looking
trining.
at.
Yeah, Mercury trining the sun. So just when you think you didn't have a chance, you get another one.
Yeah, and thankfully the Jack can provide those opportunities. But this is really interesting when you think about the Jack as the Jack in the box. It's almost like we're winding it up. We're
Yes,
winding it up,
yes,
and then here he
yes,
comes. Yeah, and especially with
exactly.
that 10 then on Saturday as well. It's like I don't know, especially with the weekly energy of communication and stuff. Could we
Oh
get
yeah.
something unexpected
Yes, it's
Saturday?
gonna be an
You know,
unexpected Saturday. It's the 11th too, the 411.
yeah.
It's the 411. And so I do expect a W formation between the 9th and the 10th, giving that ability for the expansion from the 10th to the 11th.
Yeah, that's very interesting with the unexpected as well, because we have that 7 here as well, which is usually that lightning bolt. Wow, yeah, definitely a day to be, yeah, watch the headlines this day, because this could be one that could really set us off. I mean, yeah, hopefully usually I have yet to see a negative 10 of diamonds.
Yeah.
But and not to say it can't happen, but it's like usually this is a very positive card.
Yeah.
Jupiter card. It sits right in the middle here in the grid. So it's
Mhm.
known as the blessed card. So
Yeah.
usually this is very positive.
But we're still not out of the waters on the 11th, because despite that, we still have a Mars square with Pluto on that day. So whatever top we get may retrace kind of quickly, but it's only a retrace. It's not a bottom. I'm sorry, it's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a distribution back to the downside. It's just a retrace for continuation.
Right, not like a full on correction or anything like that.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes.
Um yeah, and as we can probably see with this sequence, you also see what we have on Monday here, which would be very, very powerful. And so that's something to look forward to going into the following week as well, because we'll have the Eight of Diamonds on Monday, which is the power of money, and sits right up in the crown line and in Jupiter. So it's like one of the most, I would say it's like the Ten of Diamonds and the Eight of Diamonds are like some of the most powerful cards for the markets, and we always get them back to back, which is awesome.
Yeah, sounds good. I like it. I
Yeah.
think we got a good week ahead. A week for, potential, um, recovery phase. And, next week is going to be a different, well, not next week, the week after that is going to be a different story. We have topping wrist and topping formation. So, probably see the opposite of what we're seeing now. But definitely a time for accumulation, recovery. You can see it in the change of suits. You can see it in the cards and the court cards, there in between. Just a nice week to be playing. So, look forward to this week.
Definitely. And yeah, it's like if you took, like, if you were living under a rock and you had no idea what the news was or like anything like that, yeah, looking at this week, I'd be very excited to play it, especially, yeah. But again, it's like we're talking about like intraday trading here, guys. It's like, yeah, we're talking about if you're holding longs from weeks ago or shorts from
Yeah,
months ago or something like
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you made that distinction. We are giving day-to-day information, maybe a weekly swing, but this is not a long-term swing. I haven't really been sharing those that much on X as I've been doing a lot of other things in the background, but maybe we'll do something like that at the beginning of the month. We'll get into some more of a monthly outlook or something. I'm not sure. That could be something fun to play with in the future.
Yeah, we could totally do that because I know like Bitcoin, for example, is going into its next 52-day cycle. I think it's either next week or the week after. So right now we're in a Bitcoin's Venus cycle. So if we go up here, Bitcoin is the Jack of Spades, of course. So it's its year to play all the tricks, it's its year to fully express itself. But we go if this was a yearly spread, we would just go two over to the left. So we go one, two. So its a lifetime Venus card is the Six of Diamonds. But right now, I believe we're playing the Seven of Hearts in Venus, which is definitely difficult. That's one of the heartbreak cards. It's known as like the
Yeah.
divorce card, and so it's like
Oh no.
that's tough because it's like, yeah, it's like well, we definitely saw heavy selling. You know what I mean? A lot of people
Yeah, well,
parting
a lot of
ways with
people are
Bitcoin.
definitely wanting to divorce their assets, that's for sure.
Yep, exactly. So, and we're moving into Mars, and I don't have the spread in front of me, but I believe we have it's either a 9 or a 7 in Mars, which is like, so we're gonna still be going through some turbulence here for at least like the next little bit.
Okay. Yeah, good to know. Good to know. Yeah, and that's pretty much what we got for you guys today. We said we were gonna keep it short. We still did an hour, so we just kind of ran through that though. Lots to think about, lots to plan for this week. Much more positive week than last week, and then what we might see in the future. But yeah, so thanks again everyone for joining us and sharing your time with us. I hope you found value in what we have to share. And Ty, thanks for joining me today again.
Yeah, thank you, Dee. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Yeah, any questions about cardology, the card system? Yeah, hit me up, comment on a post, do whatever, reach out to me. Here to help. So yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, so if anyone's also interested in learning more about cards, you can follow Ty in his feed. He shares a lot of information daily, and keeps up with what we talk about throughout the week. So gives reminders on what the card looks like for the day, etc. I believe you also do readings and whatnot. So for readings, you can hit him up as well. Same for me. I'm doing less updates these days, but I will try to continue to pick up and continue to update you guys on different things that I see upcoming. And yeah, thanks for your support, everyone. Thanks for, your love and following us and appreciating our craft. We love you back, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Bye. Stay coded.